Hey, everybody. Welcome to Touch by Prayer. I am so excited. Oh my gosh, it is going to be a power packed show. I'm just making sure that we are live, making sure that things are up and running. It looks like we are good to go. I hope you guys are excited because we're going to talk about something kind of difficult. We are going to talk about something that a lot of people are talking about, and that is the abortion issue. A lot of people don't like to talk about it. We like to be quiet. We like to stay silent, but there is a sound, and I truly believe it is the sound of the children, the unborn children who are crying out and who are asking for their voices to be heard. And there have been different individuals who have stepped up to the plate, who have, as I like to say, climbed out of the trenches and have gone onto the front line, who have been a voice for the voiceless, who have carried a torch for righteousness. And that is definitely my guest. My guest is Janet Porter, and she has written a book. It is called A Heartbeat Away. She talks about Roe versus Wade and how the heartbeat bill can totally get rid of it. How about that? That is going to be exciting. So, Janet, thank you so much for coming on Touch by Prayer. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for writing this book.
Thank you so much. It is really a privilege to be with you tonight.
Oh, well, you're very sweet. Okay, so let's get down because I think that we're I'm just making sure that we are up and running. Because of course, there are, which you talk about, there are some things that say, oh, can't talk about that. We get fact checked and all this other stuff. So,
Yes.
So let's start talking about this because I really believe that people get something inside of them that God places inside of them. And I really believe that this mandate that you carry, that God gave you, when did you get this?
Well, it was actually in the 10th grade. I was 15 years old. I went to government schools, and I heard a speaker from both sides of the issue. And when the pro-lifer came, they showed a picture of the results of a day at the abortion mill, which was it was a garbage bag full of babies. It was a picture, and I looked at that picture, and I've never been the same. I said, there is no way you can word your way around this. No slogan makes this okay. Nothing you can say can legitimize what I'm looking at. Innocent children who were thrown in a garbage can, a garbage bag. And from that time, I have been pro-life. But see, here's the thing that a lot of people didn't know is that I was the shy kid. I didn't like giving speeches. I was, just very, very quiet, believe it or not. And I had to reach, it was in college that I actually had to come to a decision that which should I care about more? The fact that I'm afraid to, by the way, the fear of public speaking, according to some, is the number one fear in America.
Oh,
Death
there you
ranks
go.
like 6th in one of these surveys. And I just thought, I'm more pro-life than that. But which was more significant? The fact that there's 4,400 babies that were alive in the morning that by nighttime were dead in America. Which was more significant? The fact that this brutal killing was taking place on our watch, or the fact that I was afraid to tell anyone. And my fear of public speaking lost that contest. And I went through speakers training. I was lousy at it. I remember speaking at, I don't know if they ran out of money or something, but I was the keynote speaker at a Cleveland Memorial for the Unborn. There were 2,200 people there. I was the keynote. And one of the MC pulled me aside and she said, I went through speakers training with you. And I have to tell you, I'm really surprised that you ended up being our spokesman. And
Wow.
what do you say to that? Thank you. But no, it's the whole point of this. It's not about our comfort zones. It's not about our giftings, our talents. It's about obeying God. It's about doing what He says and trusting the God of the impossible to work through, mild-mannered, ordinary people and that don't even have spectacular gifts. I mean, if you were to look at the class that I graduated from, you'd say, well, this one's amazing speaker, debate club. This one's, actor. No, it wasn't me. But I said yes. And that's really it is. God's looking for somebody who will take Him at His word, believe He is who He says He is. And as I've said many times, as I founded Faith to Action is the name of my organization, that actions are what you believe. Mm-hmm. Everything else is religious talk. So, I could tell you could talk to me about how you believe in the God of the impossible. I want to know, what have you done? That's impossible. I want to know how the impossible bowed to the name of Jesus spoken through your lips. That's That's how you can tell what you believe is what are you doing? Everything else is religious talk, political talk, a lot of empty rhetoric, a lot of empty promises, as we found as we tried to pass the heartbeat bill. And so many Republicans who ran on being pro-life never really meant it. They only wanted to regulate abortion, never end it. And I'm tired of marching. I'm tired of talking. I want the killing to stop. And that's really what the heartbeat bill is all about. It's going to take us very, very close to our finish line. It's not all the way there, but it does use a universally recognized indicator of life, and that is heartbeat. Every hospital in the world recognizes that if there's a heartbeat, there's life. That's why, if there's a body on the ground, you check for a pulse. The heart monitors in the hospitals, you've seen them. They're not there for decoration. None of us have been to a funeral of somebody with a beating heart. It's easy to ignore a heartbeat is really heartless, but to deny a heartbeat is to deny science. And that's really what it is. We hear a lot of people that they agree with science. Well, science says that we've got a measurable, detectable human heartbeat coming from the womb. This child is beating a help SOS. With every beat of their heart, and we're gonna quit ignoring it. We're gonna start heeding it, and that's what now 29 states have done by introducing heartbeat bills, and 10 states have now passed them. These are all arrows that are going through the court system, and they are destined to deliver the fatal blow to Roe versus Wade. But the key is we need Donald Trump there to finish the work that God put him there to do. And so that's why I dedicated my book to President Trump. I'm told and I'm praying somebody's going to get it to him this week. But here's what he said. He said, they are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's the truth.
Come on. That's so good.
We are fighting for those who have no voice, and we will win because we know how to win. He spoke those words at the March for Life, something no other president in history has done. He says, we will win because we know how to win. And I made sure I spelled out in the book itself, the heartbeat bill is the way to win. And so I'm hoping that the president will speak out on this, because I'll tell you why. Not only is it going to ignite the hearts of these 29 states that have introduced heartbeat bills of pro-lifers who've been marching for almost 50 years, what it's going to do is ignite the base, because what we found, we took a poll. George Barna did a scientific poll and found that 7 out of 10 in America believe that if a doctor can detect the heartbeat of an unborn baby, that baby should be legally protected. Now here's something else. I'll tell you one other little, if you split down those numbers in the poll, you found that 86% of Republicans support heartbeat laws, a majority of independents, but I'm glad you're sitting down, because here's the shocker. 55%, a majority of Democrats favor heartbeat laws passed, and there, it shows you how far out of step the Biden-Harris ticket is. That's a ticket that says we want to kill children up until the moment of birth, paid for with your tax dollars. And then Kamala Harris, she didn't go after those that were selling the baby parts of these babies. She went after the journalists who exposed the videos. She was going after them. I mean, it just says everything you need to know. And again, we've been told it's a blob until it comes out a baby one day. They're chopping them up and they're selling organs. There's a kidney going for this price, and lungs, and you can, eyeballs and hearts. And those videos, I wrote about it in my book, and you can see some of them that haven't been scrubbed yet from YouTube. But Kamala Harris went after the journalists. They went after the messenger, not after those that are chopping up babies and selling their spare parts. It's appalling. And that's really what it comes down to is where do you want to be? What kind of country do you want to have? And I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to choose life this election, and I'm hoping everybody else does. And I'll tell you why, because if we don't, this may be our last chance to finish what the heartbeat bills have started all over the country. That we need another vote on the court, as we saw in the last opinion. We need to get some of these justices replaced, and we need Donald Trump to do it, because we already know a Biden-Harris ticket is gonna put on pro-abort Marxists who not only take our right to life, take our right to keep and bear arms, take our liberties. This is what. Look, do you want America? Or do you want Venezuela? This is the choice that's before us. Do you want life or death? And that's why I guess it's a shameless plug. Here's the cup I drink from. It's got a little Donald Trump on there. You can see him.
Okay, so first of all, I love you. You are such a firecracker. Like, you don't even expect what just came out of your mouth to come out. So Holy moly. Okay, I got so much. Okay, number one, totally agree with everything that you just said. 100%. It's just what our president is currently doing for pro-life probably is beyond what anybody has ever done. And
Yes,
the
it
thing
is.
and the beauty when we as people have been having people have been writing books who've been gone, who have actually had encounters in heaven. They have seen the Father's heart for the children, because each of these children had a destiny.
Mhm.
They had a destiny. They had a purpose. That there are no accidental births. People will say, well, oops, it was an accident. No, there are no accidents.
That's right.
Life is not an accident. It is when the Father's finger touches it that it comes to life. There is science behind it, but what was really, really interesting is that they talk about the river of life that flows from the throne room of God. And there have been what's really interesting is I had an encounter in heaven, and I saw the river of life. But do you know, Janet, that the river of life is actually light? It's not a river, it's light. But then somebody said to me, they said, do you know what happens upon conception? That there is a light. When the sperm and the egg meet, there is actually an explosion of light. So there is something that we have to understand, that it is not an accident, but it is something that the Father does. Because if having babies was really easy, all the people who had in vitro fertilization would have 100% success rate. If it was as simple as putting the egg with the sperm. So therefore, every single child who has been aborted had a destiny and a purpose. And there were books inside of that child, and there were dreams, and there were things that God had planned, right? And so I think what we have learned through the political correctness is that sometimes people will take something and they will dehumanize it to make it acceptable, so that there isn't that attachment. I know I'm going to your book. But you go ahead. You're there. Go ahead and talk about that, because that's kind of where I want to start.
Well, it's something that's not new. In order to, if you want to take the life of someone, you change what you call them.
That's
and it's happened through history. And I wrote about in the book, somewhere in this book.
Right. I'll get to it.
Oh yeah, pull out the page. For those of you following at home, we have page numbers. Here it is. By the way, one of the things they're doing is they're changing the word heartbeat. They're not saying heartbeat anymore. They're calling it cardiac activity, electronic pulses, because they know that America resonates with heartbeat. So they're changing that. In fact, even when they challenge the Ohio heartbeat law, they actually challenge it without calling it what it is, without talking about what it refers to, because it's all about words. It's by the way, if they want to make guns illegal, you just call them assault rifles.
That's
what? Rifles don't assault anyone. They just add that label on there, and that's the guns they want to outlaw.
Or they call them assault weapons.
Assault weapons, that's right. But what we saw in history, and here it is, it's on page 277, they called in the past, when they wanted to dehumanize the African Americans, they referred to them as a disease. Or to the Jewish people, they referred to them as a disease. Likewise, with the unborn, it's pregnancy, when not wanted, is a disease. In fact, a venereal disease. This is what they did. They called blacks, Jews, and the unborn inanimate objects, waste products, non-persons, deficient human beings, unwanted, non-human, animal, parasite. This is what they do. And it doesn't change. It doesn't change the sacredness of this human being who's made in the image of God, whether they're African American, whether they're of Jewish descent, whether they're Native American, whether they're unborn.
Right.
These are human beings. And in the case of the heartbeat bill, we're talking about human beings with heartbeats we can hear. Again, the bill, if you want to talk about really what the bill is, it's so simple. It simply says, if a heartbeat is detected, the child is protected, the baby's protected.
That's it.
That's it. We've seen bumper stickers for decades. Abortion stops a beating heart. Remember, the pro-aborts all said, oh, that's not true. That's not true. Then they come in and testify against the heartbeat bill and admit to the world it is true.
Yep.
We're against this bill because abortion does stop a beating heart.
Yep.
But with the heartbeat bill, here's the exciting news. With the heartbeat bill, instead of abortion stopping a beating heart will stop abortion.
Come on.
And that's the message. That's what's going to happen. I'll tell you, I've been in this movement more than 40 years. And I have never had more hope that we're going to see the finish line, that we're actually going to finish what we set out to do. And it all started with an idea that God put in my heart. And here's something you want to talk about, something I don't normally talk about. You wanted some new information?
I did.
I spoke at a conference a week ago in Destin, northern Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him a story. It was now somewhere in the neighborhood of 28, 30 years ago. I was at a conference. And it was a legislative conference, and I was a kid out of college, and I had all these ideas, and I said, listen, if we can't get every child, let's rescue as many as we can. Let's get them from the point of heartbeat or brainwaves. I started pitching my idea to legislators around, and they were there from all over the country. And there were those who surrounded me. It was like piranhas, Lisa. You're not going to believe this, but this idea was so beaten out of me. Basically, I came up with the heartbeat bill idea 30 some years ago. But they said, oh, this is not going to work. It can never work. It's, we have a well thought out legislative strategy. And who are you? I mean, here are these people are judges and legislators, and you're a kid out of college with a whole lot to learn. Well, what did I learn? I learned that doing things their way, the incremental way, where we move down the field a millimeter at a time, mm-hmm. we actually, by regulating around the edges of abortion, we have a body count of more than 60 million innocent American children. And here's what I learned is that if we want to have different results, we need a different approach. And that's where the heartbeat bill was actually rebirthed at the funeral of a man who was one who was against this idea. He was a staunch incrementalist, as was Dr. Wilkie at the time. Dr. Wilkie, the founder of the pro-life movement, co-founder of National Right to Life, he said the incremental approach, I was a staunch incrementalist, but the fact of the matter is it did not get us far enough, fast enough. It did not do what we set out to do. And so here these men worked their entire lives, never got to see what they work for. And this is the approach. I don't want to see the end of abortion, years from now, decades from now. I want it to happen now. We are in a place where if we've got those arrows that are right now launched, heading to the heart of Roe versus Wade, all we need is a court who will welcome them and say, yeah, you know what? The marker that we're using in the Supreme Court right now is a thing called viability. You know what they do? They take a measurement and they take a guess as they look at an ultrasound screen, and they can be as much as 90% wrong. But here's what the scientific facts say, and this is written within the bills themselves, and it says that if you've got a detectable heartbeat, what science says, you've got a 95 to 98% chance that child will survive to live birth. In other words, we got a better marker. That's what the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals said when they reviewed the Arkansas and North Dakota heartbeat laws. They said, court, take this up because they've got a better, more certain, more scientific, more certain and consistent marker than the one the court is currently using of viability, which is miles away from our goal of conception, where heartbeat is inches away from our goal. And when we protect those babies whose heartbeats can be heard, my goal, is to go back and get the rest, because we know our lives begin at the moment of conception. It's an incremental bill, but it's a great big increment, and it will protect almost every child facing abortion, every child whose heartbeat can be heard.
Absolutely. And you know what? When you are pregnant and you're excited about being pregnant, the first thing that you want to do is to hear the heartbeat. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that a mother wants to do. They go, okay, we're going to get you in because at 8 weeks, you can hear the heartbeat. Yeah. But I think it's even sooner because there are different, they can do an internal like sonogram and you can hear the heartbeat.
That's an interesting point that you brought up. In the very last, as you know, we passed our heartbeat bill 3 times. We had to overcome overcome 2 vetoes of Governor John Kasich, who is such a staunch Republican. He spoke at the Democrat convention this week.
Mhm.
It tells you where he is. He used to be a pro-lifer, actually used to be his spokesperson. I debated his opponents for him, but now he has lost his way completely, embracing abortion on demand until birth, paid for with your tax dollars, with a Biden-Harris ticket. It's appalling. But one of the things we had to fight at the end is the Senate had gutted the heartbeat bill. They said, oh, you can only use external ultrasound, which would have saved about 4,000 babies instead of 20,000 babies. So I'm just going to give you the example of what happens when you get in a battle like this. I told them, I sat across the table and I said, we did not fight for nearly a decade to save a handful of babies. I didn't want to save just 4,000
Right.
babies. I want to save 20,000 babies. And I said, this is non-negotiable. We need the internal ultrasound. People say, oh, if that's intrusive. Well, you know what's really intrusive? That's abortion. They use, and this is where Abby Johnson came out, who endorsed the book. She said that every National Abortion Federation abortion mill uses an internal ultrasound. That is, every Planned Parenthood in America uses this intrusive ultrasound. So if you kill your child, it's an internal ultrasound that they use. It's what we said in our bill is we want standard medical practice. Whatever is used in the standard medical practice, that's what we want this bill to use. And so the Senate gutted that. And we were really, I was willing to go to war, Lisa. I'll tell you, it was the day before the hearing.
Right.
I was on the phone with a buddy of mine, Mark Harrington, and we were planning a press conference. And I said, all right, we'll go in front of the State House. We don't need a permit. We're planning the State House. And then we had called the governor. We had called our sponsor, Ron Hood, had the chairman call all these people. We tried everything. But the last result, I was going to scream bloody murder and let the world know what the House was about to do. And the call came in at the 11th hour. It was probably 10 o'clock at night. And they said, here's the call. It wasn't hello, how are you? It was what do you want?
Oh.
And I said, I want that. I want the bill gutting amendment out. I want there to be standard medical practice so that we save 20,000 babies and not just 4,000 babies. And that is what happened. That is how we finally got one of the strongest pro-life bills in the country, in history. But we had a lot of resistance. And I'll tell you, you mentioned the title of the book. It's how the heartbeat bill will pierce the heart of Roe v. Wade and the shocking betrayal no one saw coming.
Yeah.
The shocking betrayal was that the people that fought the hardest against this bill it wasn't Planned Parenthood. It wasn't NARAL. It was Right to Life. My old employer actually came and testified against the most protective pro-life bill to ever pass in Ohio. They testified against it. They lobbied against it. And then when it passed, not once but twice, they called for a veto twice and celebrated right alongside the abortionists when it came. So we fought them for 8 years. In the 9th year, as we're getting this bill reintroduced, we knew we had a pro-life governor now. What they did, this is really going to shock you. They ran to the front of the parade and they pretended it was their idea, that they were the ones who were behind it. And look, they said it was the, quote, most significant bill they've passed to date. It was the one they worked the hardest against. Almost every moment of that battle, they were fighting us. And we're finding out as I'm writing this book, hey, they fought them in Texas, in Indiana, in Missouri, in Kansas, in Tennessee. We saw the Right to Life movement, national right to life, fighting the federal heartbeat bill. This is appalling. All those organizations that you've been writing checks to, as we all have, thinking that they were going to adhere to their mission statement. No, not the case. And a lot of people say, isn't it harsh that you're telling them this? I said, no, they need to know the truth. The reason we haven't ended abortion yet is because of national right to life and the establishment that has been promising that they want to end abortion, pretending to be pro-life, but fighting us every step behind the scenes and in front of the cameras.
Phew. That's okay. There's so much. So let's call it what it is. It's a moneymaker.
Of course.
It's not about babies. It's not about children. It's not, listen, anybody who thinks that our government, I'm sorry, except with the exception, I believe, of our president, if they really believe that they care about us, no, they don't. They don't care about us. There are so many different places that you can look and see, and I love that you talk about, the mask in the book, which wasn't even anything to do with what we're dealing with, but still. Yeah. It's been a mask. It's been a charade. It's been this big, oh, we're this and we're that. But no, the truth is that there's money being made. There's black market there, but there's also a very evil agenda. There is a very evil agenda.
Well, let me just say, it's chapter 10 that you refer to, behind the mask. It's greed and racism.
Yep.
You know, what we're talking about with abortion is the biggest assault on the black community that there ever was.
That's right.
We've killed 20 million African Americans. You know what that is? That's like, imagine it's 1960. And you say, you know what? It's not just one guy they killed. It's every single man, woman, and child in America. Every black man, woman, and child in America alive in America in the year 1960, gone. That's what abortion has done. Destroyed. They've killed a quarter of the population. It was Margaret Sanger's design, as you know, the founder of Planned Parenthood. In fact, I asked a question.
Who was a member of the Ku Klux Klan?
She spoke to their group and certainly was influenced by them and by the eugenicists in Nazi Germany. And I write about all of that.
But
here's a question. I asked this to people and I said, guess who said these words? Imagine, all right, just for a minute, just who said this? We don't want the word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. Who wants to exterminate the Negro population? Who doesn't want the word to get out? Is it A, President Trump? They're calling him a racist, not one him. Congressman Steve King, they certainly attacked him over a misquote in the New York Times, not one him. It was Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger in her own letter saying, hey, don't let the word get out. Our goal is to exterminate the Negro population. If you care about black lives, if you think they really matter, then you need to get involved in the pro-life arena, because that is where your population is being exterminated.
That's right.
And they put those abortion mills in the minority communities on purpose so that they could achieve their goal. And that is the extermination. It's now a quarter of the black population is gone. In many cities, they kill more black babies than are born. This is what's happening. And I remember we were lobbying for the heartbeat bill, Lisa. We had a Blacks for Life came in and they gave a press conference from all over the country. They came and they joined us, and it broke my heart. I was speaking at a black church in Detroit, and I told them the story that one of the guys, Steve Broden, was one who came and we met with Democrats, black Democrats, and we brought them Mark Crutcher's film, Maafa 21, and he said, they're killing our race.
Yeah.
Will you be our champion? And they pleaded with these members of the Senate with tears. And no one would rise up and be the voice to say, you know what, Black Lives Matter enough for me to stand up and do something, to fight against the party that wants to kill them. And it's sad that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris don't believe Black Lives Matter enough to do something about protecting them. And where they are in the crosshairs, where they're in the most dangerous place to be right now, their own mother's womb.
Come on. So there's the other thing too. When we look at what they've been doing for the African American community, they encourage it. They encourage abortion. It's a fatherless society, because that's part of the problem, is that you don't have the father and the mother dynamic. So you have these poor young girls who have been told and have been taught, well, you're too young, so just, you made a mistake, or it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, that is the biggest lie. And what we're finding is that women who believe that lie, on the other side of that, they maybe get pregnant later in life. They feel the baby's kick. They see the baby's picture. They hear the baby's heartbeat, and they say, "Oh my goodness, what have I done?"
Yeah.
One of the women who lobbies with us in Washington, her name is Rochelle Heidelbaugh. She was raped and had an abortion following the rape. She had a second abortion, as her life very often as happens, spirals down. And she comes and testifies, and she says, let me ask you something. If you have a woman who's in this crisis, perhaps she's been raped, or she is not wanting to be pregnant, and they say to her, they say, would you tell a suicidal person, you know what, if you want to make that choice, here's a gun. Here you go. Let me give it to you. You would
Right.
never do that because that
No.
is cruel. And so when someone's in a crisis, when you push them over the ledge and say, yeah, just take care of the problem, what you do is you don't become unpregnant. You basically have a dead child. Again, the choice in this issue. I remember I was speaking in, I don't know which state it was. I said, listen, the choice that we're dealing with in this issue is whether you have a live baby or a dead baby. Because once a woman is pregnant, there already is a child.
That's
The
right.
question about abortion is whether it will be a live child or a dead child.
That's right.
And I mean, there's people that maybe I could tell this to Joe Biden, to Kamala Harris. If you don't get it, if you don't understand which is the right choice to make, live baby or dead baby, let me break it down as simply as I can in the speaker's training course. Live baby good, dead baby bad. I've made people repeat that so they see how easy. This is not a complicated issue. It's a very, very simple one. And it's one that we can help mothers and their children make a choice that they and their children can live with. There are people standing in line waiting to adopt from New York to Chicago. They'd give their right arm to love this child. Right. And they're saying, oh, I couldn't choose adoption. Well, when you choose abortion, you're giving your child to the knife of an abortionist to cut and slice into pieces and probably sell the dead baby's body parts and the organs. I mean, this is what we're talking about. This is the grisly, grueling reality of what abortion is. Somebody needs to say enough is enough. We need to stop it. And if you want to stop it, we don't have to march about it again. We don't have to talk about it incessantly. What we can do is go out and register to vote and to vote for Donald Trump and for Mike Pence to get these courts where we need to be and to have a voice, somebody who has the courage of their convictions. This is a guy that says, you know what, Congress, when you wouldn't defund Planned Parenthood, he thought up a way to do it himself.
That's right.
We saw tens of millions of dollars taken out of the coffers of Planned Parenthood because they wouldn't go along with the federal regulations the president instituted to say, hey, listen, if you're gonna use these facilities, you use these funds, it can't be for dismembering children, and you've got to spell it out. And they wouldn't do it because Planned Parenthood is in the abortion business. That is what they do. They kill children. That is their primary goal. And I mean, they've even fired they're right about it in the book. They fired their own presidents because they weren't pro-abortion enough.
That's right.
So yeah, we've got to quit talking and whining about this. We just need to get it done. And one way is you can introduce the heartbeat bills in your state. You can join with those that have, and you can make sure that they're going to be upheld by reelecting President Donald J. Trump.
Absolutely. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, because on page 286 in your book, you talked about courage is the key. We have to step out of a place of being so afraid of man and because everything that God has called us to do, he's going to give us what we need to get it done. So everything that you need, Janet, God has done and has given you everything that you need so that you can accomplish it. But you had to say yes, and that took courage.
It's really comes down to a decision. And there's another chapter that is one of my favorites. It was not my favorite season to go through, but it's called Whatever It Takes.
Yeah.
If you're willing to do whatever it takes, and that does take courage, then that's how you're going to get to the end of abortion. When they said no to us year after year after year after year, we did everything we could. We rented an airplane to fly over the State House. I own a 3-story heart balloon that says pass 3 stories. It says pass the heartbeat bill now. When they wouldn't pass the bill in the Ohio Senate, we had passed it through the House many times, but the Senate wouldn't budge. And so we ran against them. We challenged them what they care about the most, and that is their own jobs.
Right.
And so in 3 election cycles, we ran candidates against them. And when I couldn't find anybody to run against the Senate president, I still remember the phone. It's in the book, but I remember getting a call from my right hand. Lori Vyers called me up and said, did you find anybody to run in the House Senate to run against the Senate president? I said, no, man, I couldn't find anybody. I tried. I wined and dined pastors, tried to get candidates, couldn't get it. Just, well, that's too bad. We've got a lot of other candidates, but it sure would be nice if we had somebody to run against the Senate president. And she overheard a clerk say to me, sign here. She goes, where are you? I said, I'm at the Board of Elections. She says, what are you doing? I said, I'm running against the Senate president because we got to put our faith to action. Either actions are what you believe. And so I ran against the Senate president. There were 2 polls I was told that showed me dead even with him.
Wow.
And so they spent their war chest.
Yeah.
The money that he was supposed to use for other candidates, he spent it on himself.
Yeah.
$1.3 million to slander me on every television, radio station, all those ugly, nasty mailers accusing me of being the pro-abort. But you want to know something? In the end, it cost him.
Yeah,
It cost them. And they knew one thing. We weren't going to go away. I mean, we did some crazy things. I'll tell you, there's a picture in here. I just sent it to one of my interns. She was an intern when she was in the 8th grade. She's now married with 3 kids, I believe it is now. She asked me to be in her wedding. Her name is Kate Neal. And she said, we're going to take some pictures at the State House. So here we are at the State House. She's got her wedding gown. I've got my bridesmaid outfit. We've got heartbeat pins with our bouquets. And if you think that we didn't use that opportunity to lobby in the Senate,
heck yeah.
then you haven't been paying attention. So yeah, we did. One thing they knew is that we were not going to go away until they did what we told them to do. We hired them to protect human life. And if they weren't going to do it, the world was going to know. We picketed their house. We had full page ads, mailers. We ran cartoons on television about them. One of the speakers of the House said, the only reason I'm passing your bill, the only reason I'm bringing it to the floor is because I don't want a cartoon made about me. I'm just going to tell you, you got to do whatever it takes. And
That's right.
I remember I'm on the phone with Mark Crutcher, a buddy of mine in Denton, Texas. And he'd call me up. He'd say, how you doing, Janet? I said, not so great. We've got this bill, it's being stalled and everyone hates us. I can count my friends on one hand. And he says, did you go down to the State House to make friends? I said, no, sir. Or did you go down there to end abortion? That's what it is. You go down there and you do what you set out to do and you quit worrying about what people think about you, because that's not what this is about. And I'm like, that's what I needed to hear. And, I'd call him when there's no one else to call. He gave me a pep talk that kept me in the battle, and I'll be forever grateful. This is the thing. If you feel like you're outnumbered, the good news is, and this is what I learned in this battle, is that God is famous for working through remnants. As I said, there were times I literally could count on one hand the people who stood with me. There may have been a few more, but the ones I knew that were there when I needed them, one hand. I mean, the good news is I knew who they were. That was nice to know who your friends really are. But you can do this with you and a couple of friends. You can actually, as long as you're willing to do whatever it takes, without violating the law and all the obvious things. You just don't quit. You don't stop. You just keep focused, because it is God's heart to stop the killing. It's one of the 7 things he hates the most is the shedding of innocent blood. And so what we've got to do is obey him. If you love Jesus, you'll keep his commandments. You'll do what he says.
Well, there's a couple of things. One of the things that Jesus talks about the parable with the unrighteous judge and with the woman who goes to the judge and day and night and day goes and she demands and pleads and asks. And the unrighteous judge gives her what she asked for because he doesn't want to hear her anymore. There is something
one of our
about
campaigns, Lisa. We called it the persistent widow phase.
Yeah.
I mean, we called and called and called until, I mean, I wore out. I mean, people just dropping off the email list because they got worn out. I get it.
Yeah.
But we would not quit. We would not quit. And that's really where it is. And a lot of people say, well, what do these phone calls matter?
Oh, they matter.
Let me tell you, they matter. I remember I was feeling a little glib. One day I saw a guy, there was a swing vote on the committee. We needed to get him. And he was non-committal. When you're not committal, you know what you're doing? You're telling the world, call me, give me all the attention because I'm not announcing where I'm going to vote. So we called this guy, and I know his phones were blowing up. They were absolutely ringing off the hook. And so I saw him in the hallway. I said, so how you doing? You getting any calls at all? And he says, no, I'm not. We're not getting any calls, And the conversation goes on a little bit further. And at the end of the conversation, I said, maybe you could let your rep know this. And he goes, I can't get any work done with all your people calling me. And I'm like, oh, they are calling.
So they are calling.
And we ended up getting his vote in the end because those phone calls matter. That's it. You got to use your voice for the voiceless. And that's what we've been commanded to do. Proverbs 31:8. I sign it in my books. Proverbs 31:8. We are commanded to be a voice for those appointed to die. And that means you've got to register to vote as well. That means you need to take people to the polls and make sure that if you want to end abortion, if you want this curse lifted off America because of the shedding of innocent blood, we've got to finish this. We've got to do whatever it takes. And the action is right now. Actions are what you believe. Everything else is, don't tell me you're pro-life unless you have the actions to back that up.
Well, okay. So I'm going to share something with you that I don't know if I've shared. I don't think I've shared a lot, but in 2015, I woke up and the Lord told me that that Donald Trump was going to be our president. He told me. So that was August of 2015. And I went in and I told my husband, and I said, I know who our next president's going to be. He goes, who? And I told him, and he laughed at me. And he said, he's not going to get the Republican nomination. What are you, nuts? He's not this. He's not that. All these things. And so I went and I went back and I went into prayer and I said, Lord, I said, why him? Why Donald Trump? And do you know what the Lord said to me? He said, because he's going to overturn Roe versus Wade and he's going to put prayer back in school. Janet, that was in 2015.
Wow.
That was in 2015. I don't share this often. But he said this to me in 2015. But the thing is, at that time, I thought that he was pro-choice. I didn't know he was pro-life. I had no idea because he was just coming out. But the Lord told me he was going to overturn Roe versus Wade.
Well, I believe it. I'm going to tell you, I believe it. And I remember when my friend Phyllis Schlafly came out, and she's since passed away, but she made an endorsement of Donald Trump. And I remember thinking, she's getting up there in years, and she was right. She was absolutely 100% right. The thing about Donald Trump that she saw in him that I now very clearly see is that he is not like all the rhinos that we've been fighting in the Ohio legislature and in Congress, the Republicans in name only. They don't adhere to the pro-life plank in the platform. Why call yourself a Republican? And so he's a guy that's not going to just do what the establishment says to do, to regulate around the edges of abortion. Congress is made up of, when they were made up of Republicans, who most of whom claimed to be pro-life, they did not defund Planned Parenthood. What in the world? It took a president to defund him. Now there's still a lot more funds we've got to stop going into. But
he's gotten rid of a lot.
But he is, tens of millions of dollars, and he's the guy that can do it. He's a smart guy. You say whatever you want about his personality. He is a man of results. He is a man of courage. He is a man that is against the establishment, is willing to do what it takes on so many fronts. That's right. I got to tell you something. I've been a Ronald Reagan fan. He was my favorite, and certainly Washington and Lincoln. But I'm going to tell you something. We are finding in President Donald Trump characteristics that are like those of our founders, that are willing to take on and say, I'm going to do what they say can't be done. This guy, he's got lots of money. He could be sitting back golfing every day. He could be sitting by the pool. He could be doing all kinds of things. He doesn't even take a salary for his job as president. He is doing it because he loves America. He loves America. When I saw Michelle Obama give her speech, I wanted to vomit. She loves America with all her heart. Really? Because it wasn't that long ago she was telling how embarrassed she was to be an American and how much she didn't have anything to do with America. I mean, come on. You can see that his heart is right, and he's willing to do what it takes. He's going after the sexual traffickers. He's standing for the Second Amendment. He's fighting for our religious liberties. This is a guy that is everything we've dreamed about. If you care about the Constitution, this is the guy that's defending it unlike anyone else. And I'm excited about. I'm proud to be a supporter of the president. When I fly, they said, all right, you want to make me wear a mask? I wear a Donald Trump mask. I wear a Donald Trump shirt. I got to get the hat when I fly. But I'm seeing more and more people. I have one too, but I didn't wear it the last flight I was on. But I have more and more people coming out like this and saying, I'm with you. I'm with you. Where's the courage? I'd text the picture. I put it up on Facebook, and people said, that takes a lot of courage. Really? It takes a lot of courage to wear a T-shirt. Come on. America is the land of the free because of the brave. Because we are the home of the brave. And that's it. If you're not brave enough to put a yard sign on your door, or wear a shirt, I got to tell you something. I got to wonder if you're going to be courageous enough to do much else in your life, because we are at a crossroads, and this is worth it. This is absolutely worth it. Don't tell me how courageous I am when I stand for President Trump. It is the only thing I can do as an American to stand for America. I do not want Venezuela. I don't want the Marxist agenda of the left that will come to your door and take your guns. They've already announced it. He's going to put Beto O'Rourke in charge of the guns. He's already said, we're going to take your AR-15. We're coming after you, after your guns. Is this what you want? I want to speak specifically right now to those people who may be watching that are not registered to vote. I just want to say to you, everybody fights over the undecided. I want to speak to the people who are not voters right now. What does it take for you to say, what is at stake? What is it going to take for
Mm,
you to come out of the shadows and put your name on a form? And our founders bled and died for the right
that's
to
right.
vote, to
That's
be
right.
able to govern and direct us where we go as a nation. And I'm going to tell you something else. There's some churchgoers right now that may be watching, and they're saying, well, I want to stay out of politics. That is a lie of the devil that
Yep.
has kept us out of the will of God, because, oh, well, you know what? We better not do anything that affects our life, our liberty, our freedom, our health, our well-being, our economics, or anything. This is where the vote comes in. Politics, as Phyllis Schlafly used to say, is where the action is. If you want the atheists, the Marxists to take over our country, you want to make the Bible illegal, you want to see the criminalization of Christianity. That's another book I wrote, and a movie that I made about it. But that's where we're headed
Yeah.
under a Biden-Harris administration. And I'm going to tell you something: do not believe the lie, because you're going to be held accountable for what you do and what you don't do.
That's right.
And that's really where it's at. There's a sin of omission, and if it's costing, it's basically the result of not voting is the shedding of innocent blood. You're accountable for that. There's blood on your hands if you are not willing to do something to stop it. Sorry, I don't normally get this worked up on this issue, but I'm going to tell you, it's all coming down to the wire right now.
It is.
There's
And
fake news spewing out lies every night,
yeah,
and we need to speak the truth and have the courage to do whatever it takes.
absolutely. Well, you're coming out of the trenches.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
right.
you're doing.
That's
You're
right.
coming out of the trenches. And there's a couple other things. People don't understand what abortion does to those who have, like you were talking about earlier. They realize, what did I do? I know people who had abortions as kids, as teenagers, who didn't understand, but
That's right.
it haunts them. And I've had to pray with them, and I've had to help them heal. I've had to help them forgive themselves, and they had to come to a point to be able to admit what they did, and not to stand and hide under that. Well, when you know, what you do before it's different. But when you know what you know,
Yeah,
then
and
you have to become accountable.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of pastors that are right now remaining quiet on this issue, and they say it's because they don't want to, make someone feel bad who's had an abortion, or they don't want to affect
I'm sorry, rolling my eyes. I'm sorry.
yeah, or they don't want it to affect the intake of the offering. But let
Mhm.
me say this: that what is it that is healing? If you've got an open wound, that's what a lot of women are. They're there and they're hurting. They've got this secret,
Right.
and there's an entrance way to the enemy. When you've got a wound like that, what you need to do is open up and say, I'm going to clean it out. I'm going to go to God, who forgives, who will wash it with his blood, who will forgive and reconcile and restore. I have seen that the women who have had abortions become some of the most eloquent, some of the most effective anointed speakers, some of the most effective warriors in this issue, like Rochelle Heidelbaum and many others. This is what Satan meant for evil. God can and will use for good. He needs you to participate. But what we've got to do is go to the cross and ask for forgiveness, get that forgiveness, reconcile, and then be used by God in a mighty way to save millions of lives. And that's what the heartbeat bill ultimately is going to do. It's
Absolutely.
going to save the lives of every child whose heartbeat can be heard all across America, and state after state after state. And that's what's happening. That's what we've been missing.
Right.
Is we have not had a pathway to victory. We've
Yeah.
only talked and regulated and marched, and I'm sick of it all. I just want it to end. I mean,
Yeah.
you do something, you do one thing for 10 years, and that's what I've been focused on for 10 years is
Right.
this heartbeat bill. I knew it was my assignment. I'm going to complete my assignment. I had to pass the bill three times to get it through. We had other states, and I certainly helped in many of those states. But this is it. This is our
Yeah.
opportunity, and we've got a president who is already. He doesn't talk around the edges like, well, I'll put on a constitutional conservative who'll
Yeah.
interpret the. No, he says, I will put pro-life
Yeah.
justices on the court.
Yep.
How clear do you want it to be?
Yep.
How easy a choice is this really? It's life or it's death. Period.
Yep.
That's it. The end.
And that's one of the things, when we talk about the fathers, let's talk about heartbeats. Let's talk about the father's heartbeat, and how his heart breaks as children are being aborted. How his heart really breaks about it, because we don't know. It says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. That's a scripture. because
Yes.
sometimes we don't know what we're doing. But I will tell you this, that before they passed the full-term abortion bill in New York City, I had a dream. Did I tell you this
No,
dream that I had?
tell
Okay.
me.
Okay, so I had this dream. On this dream, and you're gonna love this. It was all over the news. They were talking about abortion. They were talking about abortion, and they were really talking about abortion, and they were showing full-term babies abortion. Okay. And there were people who were looking at it and they were so upset by it and they were so disgusted by it. And it was the church. And they weren't upset because of what was happening. They were upset because they had to see it. They didn't want to see it. They didn't care about anything else. They just didn't want to see it. And so in this dream, it was on the TV, but then I was walking through the streets of New York and I went down this alley and I saw this tarp, and this tarp were all of these babies laid out, all different size babies of fetuses. And the last one was a full-term baby. And I saw this guy and he was dressed in green and he looked like a doctor, but he was dressed in green. And I woke up and I thought, oh my gosh, God is telling me that people are aborting their dreams. Because sometimes a baby in a dream can mean like a dream instead of like a baby. It's not a literal thing. But this particular dream happened. It was 3 days before they passed the bill. I had no idea. But the Lord started to talk to me and he said that the blood of a baby is the most powerful blood there is, and blood gives power. And he said that they needed more power because they were losing. And that's why they passed the bill. And that day, he showed me the Freedom Tower was lit up pink. And he showed me that where the Freedom Tower was built, that there was a lot of innocent blood that was shed.
Well, you think about this. It was the Tower of Hypocrisy of lighting it up pink, saying we're going to celebrate taking the lives of babies that are 9 months old. But you know that there's a plaque there, the Freedom Tower, to commemorate the 11 unborn children who were killed at 9/11 by the terrorists.
What?
So here we are. We're honoring. It's in the book. You're honoring the fact that these babies' lives meant something. We commemorate it there at that location, and that is the place where they lit it pink to celebrate taking human life all the way up to the moment of their first breath of 9 months of delivery. It is appalling. It is hypocrisy, and that's part of the chapter that says the enemy has overplayed his hand. And I believe that's what's happening. They've gone too far. They are. That's right. And I think the American people, especially those non-voters, and maybe some of those undecided, the Christians who've been sitting in the pew, they need to get up and say, you know what, this is too far. If I don't vote, it's like I am approving killing children for all 9 months.
Say that.
That's it. If you don't vote, you are giving tacit approval for the pro-abortion movement to kill children with your tax dollars for all 9 months.
That's right.
And then chop them up and use them for spare parts and sell them for more money. Got a whole chapter on that greed when the masks are coming off. I mean, all of it is exposed. Everything is there for you can complain about what you have to see, or you can stop it at its source.
That's right.
It's like Kamala Harris. You know, instead of going after the abortionists who are selling body parts in violation of federal law of these babies, their hearts, their livers, their lungs, instead of going after the ones breaking the law, they went after the ones that were exposing it, the journalists who showed the videos. I mean, this is what it's come to. They're shooting the messenger rather than going after the criminals that are literally chopping up human babies. It is absolutely so beyond gruesome and horrific, and yet we think it's not worth our vote. We think it's not worth us to take the time and register, because boy, that just seems politics is dirty. I'll tell you what's dirtier is not casting your vote for life and letting the killing continue. That's really our choice. And I know I'm beating the same drum, but I feel very, very strongly that we are on the precipice. I got to tell you, I have so much hope in my heart that I mean, we're so close to the finish line. It's like I can reach out and feel it. I can see it. I'm like, see that ribbon, and I could see that we're ready to run across it. And what it's going to take is for us now to register and to vote. And I'll tell you one other thing. It's about voter integrity. And I write about this in the book as well, that we've got to make sure that our votes are being counted and that they're being counted accurately. This mail-in invitation to vote fraud, we got to stand against that. We need to stand with the president, because he is exactly right. And that we're, what we're seeing is that, mail it out. I mean, what do they say? If somebody's cat that was dead for 12 years cast a vote. I mean, people are saying that my grandfather, he was a Republican his whole life, but he finally started voting Republican the moment he died. I mean, this is the kind of thing that we see happening, and we've got to stop it, because our country literally is hanging by a thread. It is on the line. And the fact that you've got a guy that can't string a sentence together, that's leading in some of these polls. I mean, I don't believe it, but even the fact that they could even make that ask, I mean, just it's beyond understanding and comprehension how we could be in this situation with these people running for president, for the highest office of the land, that are against everything America stands for.
Now, did you also see, as they've been taking down different, Confederate, monuments and different, monuments that are of importance, they've been putting up statues, satanic statue of Baal or Moloch, which are baby killers. People actually would take their babies and give them to these deities and these demons.
I talked about in the book, I think the only platform that is more pro-abortion than the Democratic platform was the platform that Moloch stood on, that he sat on. Now, that's the only platform I think that's more pro-abortion than the Democratic platform. I mean, think about what we're talking about here. By the way, one of the statues they're tearing down Lincoln, the guy that freed the slaves and took a bullet for it. I mean, it really is appalling. It's really beyond the pale.
Well, because if they get rid of history, if you can get rid of the documentation of history, you can change history.
And that's what they've been trying to do. They've been doing it in the government schools. They've been doing it with the media. I think Louis Gohmert said it right. He actually tried to outlaw the Democratic Party by resolution, because they were the ones who started slavery. If you want to tear something down, tear down the party of slavery. The Jim Crow laws, tear down the ones who fought against civil rights. That's the Democratic Party.
That's right.
And so I just think we need to turn off CNN. By the way, I write about that and some of the experiences that I've had, some of the selective editing that they do, and these kinds of things. But it's really to a place where we need to pray and change. I want to tell you some good news. Let me tell you this. We can see, when we started off the heartbeat bill, they said it was impossible. They said it could not be done. But I'm here to tell you, on this side of the finish line, that what they called impossible is now inevitable. We're going to end abortion.
Yes,
and what I'm going to tell you, it only took a remnant to do it. The friends on one hand that finished this task. And I'm going to tell you that it can be done where we can take back voter integrity. We can take back the government schools, break the government monopoly, set our children free where they are free to learn. We can take back the media. The media right now is probably the biggest problem we have, because they are spewing out lies every day. I mean, I heard that Goliath, they dug up Goliath's remains. It turns out he wasn't killed by David Stone. It was COVID, and it was Trump's fault. This is what they report. This is the kind of stuff that we're here to see.
That's true.
And we've got to stand up against it, and they're using fear. They're spewing out fear. So many people afraid to leave their homes because, oh no, there's a virus. Well, there is a virus. We need to be careful, but we don't need to be. That
has a 99% chance of recovery.
Yeah, and if you use a hydroxychloroquine, then you're pretty much certain to be cured, just as Congressman Louis Gohmert spelled out. These are the things. Let me tell you how evil it is. They are actually, blocking and making it illegal to get the things that help, the things that cure. People are saying a Z-Pak and zinc that's helping. I mean, I just know, and one of the other things YouTube has been blocking and banning and censoring and keeping us from the truth. I don't know how long this is going to last on YouTube. I've been banned. I write about that. There's a dark web that is a systematic attempt to silence our
Yeah.
voice. And one of the guys, Robert Epstein, is a psychologist. He was editor of Psychology Today, Harvard educated. He was a Hillary supporter. And he said that what is happening is that there is, in this web that has now become the new public square, they are skewing the search engines. And I actually spell it out. If you typed at the time on Yahoo, it says Hillary is, it'll come up crooked, murderer, all these kinds of things will come up. Same with Bing. But if you typed it into Google, which is the #1 search engine in the world, 90 some percent are using Google.
Right.
They would type in, she's awesome, she's winning. And it hides, it hides when they typed in the make the art of the deal, I think it was that that Google would bring up Mein Kampf. That really, this is, and what by skewing the search engines, people think it's a neutral thing. I'll just type in and see what I find. And guess what? They're led to the candidate of Google's choice, which is not our president.
No.
And that this Democrat psychologist said that he's testified before the Senate committee. I wrote about it in A Heartbeat Away. He said that we are looking at skewing as much as 15 million votes just by that.
Yep.
Not to mention by sending out a message on Facebook, blocking the Trump ads, blocking our messages. They are silencing our voice. There is a strangulation on our message. In fact, what's happening is by bumping the conservative news sites down, they're taking away their revenue because advertisers count on the traffic. And if you put WorldNet Daily, some of these places way down, their revenue dries up and they literally choke us out of existence. Yep. That is what is happening, and that needs to stop.
Well, there's a lot of things. I think that there is a reason if we really understand the purpose, because there is a greater purpose for the abortions besides the money, besides there's a as we started to talk about, there is a darker side to it. And it was just released on, somebody posted that it was like, I think it was a Washington Post that actually wrote an article that said that Satanists have said that abortion is actually like their communion. And so they're trying to save it for religious practices. This is what they're trying to do now, because they know they're losing. See, this is the whole thing, Janet. When demons are about to come out of a person, you know what they do? They get loud. They scream. They holler. They fuss. They put on a big show because they don't want to go. But they
are absolutely showing their hand. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
So, but when God, and that's the thing, when Jesus showed up, that's when they would manifest. That's when they showed who they were. Because they can't stand.
When we were passing the heartbeat bill in Ohio, I don't think I could have designed this to show any better what we're dealing with. The women came out and they had a t-shirt that said pro-abort witch. And they had earrings the size of saucers that were pentagrams. And they all had their phones. They're all aimed at me, and I'm like, this is lovely. But this is a spiritual battle. And if you don't believe me, start looking at them. They're coming out of the shadows. We are dealing with people that are not aligned with the God of creation. They're aligned with the counterfeit, fake God of this world. And I'll tell you, there is a power there, but greater is He that is in us than he that is in the world. We don't have to be afraid because you know what? God already won the victory at the cross. The victory is there, and what we need to do is use the power, use the authority we've been given, and to stand against this great evil. And we had, and I don't often talk about this, I do in the book, about the spiritual battle that's going on. We had prayer covering everywhere we went. We have to, because literally, I tell people, they ask me, what do you do? How do you do this? I said, well, I don't get out of bed until I have the armor of God on. Helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, the shoes of the gospel of peace, the sword of the spirit, and the shield of faith. I put that on in the morning. And if I get a thought that is attacking me, or that you're going to fail, or that Trump's going to, whatever it is, I forgot my armor. There you go. And I put it back on. And I keep my, we need the mind of Christ. We need to keep our eyes on God. This is really what it's all about. He gives us peace that passes understanding. If we are in that secret place, we have the ability. He said we have. You know what? All power and all authority was given to Jesus. That means somebody has none of it. And he's given it to us. We just need to use it. We need to learn how to do spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot more than I knew. And I'll tell you what, we can't learn this quick enough because, we've been getting our clocks cleaned. We've been getting beaten up and bloodied. And,
Yeah.
even in this 10-year battle for me,
Yeah.
It's been a great learning curve, and there's a lot that I share, a lot spiritual that I share. I mean, people say it's, is it a political book? Is it a spiritual book? The
It's
answer is
both.
yes. It's both. Someone just left me a message that said it's an instructional manual as well, but it reads like a novel.
It does.
It's how to do it. It's how to take on the giants, and how to see the impossible bow to the name of Jesus, and what to do when everything is fighting against you, when there is a wall, a barrier that looks like it cannot be penetrated, and we just kept pressing, kept pushing, and that's what ultimately won. There's all the different ways, all the ideas like how we rolled in the mobile ultrasound to show the youngest to ever testify. We let those members of Congress, members in the state legislatures, see that baby's heart beating on the screen, hear that baby's heartbeat. I've told this many times, but in congressional hearing in the Judiciary Subcommittee, there was a little baby, baby Lincoln, who I believe will be used to emancipate the next generation. He was 18 weeks old in the womb, and they showed him up on the screen, his heart beating, and the room was silent. And what happened next was surprising to me, even me. I couldn't believe when I heard that as that baby's heart was beating, the room was silent, everyone was focused on little baby Lincoln. Even the protester, one protester in particular, was seen wiping tears from both of her eyes. And that's when I realized that this baby's heartbeat can reach even the hardest of hearts.
That's right.
It will reach America. And that's what it's doing, Lisa. That's what's happening.
I think that, and I just think that's so beautiful. And I'm excited. How about that? I'm excited because
I am too.
We are taking back. Do you know, one of the things that you said is that, you had that wall, and I actually saw, Janet, I saw the walls of Jericho. And so what happened with the walls of Jericho, which some people don't realize, that the walls were actually hollowed out and they had baby parts inside the walls of Jericho. That's why they had to come down, because they were all being sacrificed to Moloch. And so the wall actually wasn't structured. It was hollow, because they would put that's what they thought was saving them and keeping them safe. And so what did God do? He had them march around, right, for 7 days. And then on the seventh day, they marched around 7 days and they blew the shofar. So what was that? 7 days is completion. Then they did it again, double, right? They did another 7 days. In 1 day, they went around 7 times, completion. He was going to finish what was started. And there was a sound that went out, which brought the entire thing down, brought every structure down. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You're the shofar. You're the shofar that is blowing, and that is going to and pulling down these walls. But it's not just pulling down the establishment. It's pulling down the hearts of people who didn't see things that way. It's pulling down the things that people have been hiding behind. You're pulling down every time you speak, every time you share. You're just pulling down these walls every place that you go. So you're the shofar. That's
I will tell you this, that there is an authority that comes with someone who's crossed the finish line. I mean, we have seen the giants fall, and once you've seen Goliath fall, nobody can tell you that it can't be done.
That's right.
And so when I go to Michigan and they say, what makes you think that a heartbeat bill will pass in Michigan? I said, because I've seen it done. I've already seen it done in Ohio. By the way, we were there in the State House in Michigan, and this had never happened in Ohio, but there was a tapping. We were there in the rotunda after a rally in Michigan, and there was worship and there was this tapping that occurred, that it was people were pounding on the floors and pounding on the rails, three legs up, and it was, and it was the heartbeat that resonated through the entire State House. Senators, legislators were coming out of their offices. What is that? Everybody knew what that was. That's a human heartbeat. It was a sacred moment where you just felt God is in this. And he's in it all over the country. As I mentioned, I spoke in Destin at a National Association of Christian Lawmakers meeting. Jason Rapert, who helped to pass and led the charge to pass the nation's first heartbeat bill in Arkansas, he led the charge there. talked about little baby Duncan, who was saved through his heartbeat bill in Arkansas. But I was able to talk with a woman who flew. She said, I flew just to talk with you because I'm introducing the heartbeat bill in Alaska.
Come
Had dinner
on.
with a guy that's going to introduce it in North Carolina. We found a Senate sponsor. We need it in the state of Texas. Kansas legislators who are looking to get it started again in Kansas. We're going to end abortion. I
Yes.
mean, it was called impossible. It is now inevitable. We are going to end abortion. And I started telling people this a decade ago, and they looked at me like I was kind of crazy. And they'd even tell me, they said, I didn't believe you at first, but now I see it's going to happen. It will happen. We will end abortion if
Yep.
we do what we're commanded to do. If we will come out and elect this man that God has appointed, even though he may not be perfect in your standard of personality. I don't care about his personality. I happen to like him, but it's his actions. Actions are what you believe in. He
That's
is
right.
a man of courage and a man of results.
That's
and
right.
you just can't argue with what he's already done and what he has yet to do. He
That's
needs
right.
4 more years to do it.
Yes, he does, because Roe versus Wade is going to be overturned.
Amen. Amen.
I'm saying it. I'm declaring it, and that is
I
something
agree
that
with you.
happens when God says something. You say, that's it. What did David say to Goliath? You filthy Philistine! You are
Who
going down. Who are you? Right?
Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that dare defy the armies of the living God?
Come on.
That's what he said. And that's what we say to those that are lying and those that are spewing this kind of hate and spewing these platforms of killing children. Now, who are you? Who in the world do you think you are to come against the Lord God of America? And you know what? It is our motto, in God we trust.
That's right.
My state motto of the state motto of Florida is in God we trust, but in Ohio, it's with God, all things are possible.
That's right.
And I knew that was true because Jesus was the one that said it.
That's
but we,
right.
we have it emblazoned in our state house on the ground. It's there in the ground. And so when we were there were people that gathered and were kneeling along the seal of the state. And as I'm there, I realized we are literally standing on the word of God. We're standing on the word of God. We'd have prayer meetings after prayer meetings like you wouldn't believe it. The senators would go by and they'd roll their eyes. And I just said, you know what? It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before they see what my God can do. If you haven't won yet, well, guess what? Then the story's not over. Then turn the page. There's another chapter that's coming because God has, it says in Psalm 139, all the days of our life were written before one of them came to be. I want every page of the book of my life. I want every scene in this movie of my life that God has written. And what God's movie is better than Hollywood could ever come up with. It is Ephesians 3:20, exceedingly abundantly greater than what you can ask, what you could dream up, or what you could think. That's the movie of your life. And I'm going to tell you something. If they made a movie about your life, here's the question. Would anybody want to watch it? I want to tell you, we can live like the pages of the Bible because our God is the same. He hasn't changed from when he was healing people and raising the sick and causing the blind to see. This is the God. He's still who he claims to be. He's still everything he is. The tomb is empty. We need to start acting like it. You know what? This country, quit complaining about it. Turn off the media and start getting. We went out without television for a decade. We did not have television in our house during the entire battle. And what'd you do for it? Well, we ended abortion. That's one thing. That's pretty good. We made a movie about the assault on our freedoms, the Light Winds movie that you can get online here soon. It's a situation where if you turn off all the reports, all the giant reports. I mean, think about this. What would David have done if he had gone and gone home, gotten his easy chair, and turned on, CNN, the Canaanite news network, right? And say, the giant is big. Take a look at the pictures of Goliath. He's never lost. He's big and he's huge and he's never lost. He's undefeated. He probably wouldn't. If you listen to the giant reports, then you start believing them.
That's right.
Turn it off. Turn it off. Spend that time in prayer. Spend that time talking and praying and working to get our country back, because we have an opportunity like you wouldn't believe. And I'll tell you this. It was when, I'm not sure which year it was, but it was when Obama was sworn in. I was watching it in disgust. And I said, God, if you will give us another chance as a nation, if you will give us another opportunity at freedom, I promise I will use it. I promise I will use that freedom for everything it's worth. And that's what we need to do. We need to use this freedom. God has given us mercy. You know
Yeah,
what? We
I
could have
agree.
been under a Hillary Clinton administration mourning the death of the Constitution and all the
Yeah,
rights that go with it. But
yeah,
you know what? God gave us Donald Trump. And a
that's
lot
right.
of people may not like it. If you may say you're never Trumper, then you are a pro-abort because that's the only alternative right now.
Come
That
on.
you're in favor of killing children
That's
till
right.
birth with our tax dollars.
That's
That's
right.
it.
That's
I'm an
right.
always Trumper. I'm an
That's
always
right.
Trumper because
Yep.
this is a guy that's getting it done.
That's
And,
right.
and he's the one that's drying up the sex traffic rings.
That's
He's
right.
going after all of those criminals. And I think we're going to see some arrests here of those that have been committing treason. I think we're going to see a lot of things happen, but we need to stand with this man and we need to make sure that he has what he needs, our votes, to finish what it is that we need done. And that is we need justices on that court that
Yes.
are going to uphold our heartbeat laws,
Yes.
that are going to see the killing come to an end, because Roe versus Wade is on the brink. It is teetering right now. It is ready to fall to the ash heap of history, as Vice President Pence said. This is where we are.
That's
and if
right.
you want, well, I'm just going to tell you something. You know, I remember I was running a race, never told this story before. I was running a race. It was a 10K race. I was in Seattle. I was running a race. I was 16 years old. And I remember being so tired. And I was so tired. I didn't think I could make it. Oh man, it was just, I was out of shape and I was running and I was so tired. And I turned the corner and I could see the finish line. And I thought to myself, if I had known the finish line was that close, I would have been running a lot faster. I would have been less complaining about the my legs and how tired they were. I would, if you can see the finish line, you can pick up the pace because we are almost there.
I
and
agree.
so if you're tired and you're weary, the Bible says, don't be weary in doing good. I'm going to tell you, the finish line is right there, right there. Don't give up now. Don't give up the race. Don't sit back and say, oh, well, they're all bad. And oh, well, the media says he can't win. No. The media said he couldn't win last time. By the way, you want to be encouraged? You could type in snowflake meltdown 2016 and you can see all the media crying about how their predictions that said it was, absolutely gonna, Hillary was gonna win and Trump was gonna lose. And Governor Mike Huckabee wrote an article yesterday, or maybe it was today, and he said, they had all those balloons that they wanted for their victory party and all the fireworks. They're looking to use them this week at the convention. No, this is it. We have a moment in history. This is what I believe can be written about America right now. That is, we're on the brink of destruction. We're on the brink of choosing life and liberty, of America or Marxism. That's it. That's where we are. And this is where we need to rise up. This is where the church needs to rise up so that it can be written about us in this time, that this was their greatest hour. When this is written, when I write about this, I've been speaking about it for 40 years. One day, when the killing stops, our children, our grandchildren are going to come home from school. And if they're not homeschooled, and I think they probably should be, but they're going to learn about what happened on our watch in the year 2020. It's more than COVID. It's what we did in this hour.
Right.
They're going to come home with a question, and that question is, where were you when they were killing babies?
And what did you do?
And you know what I want to say? I want to say we were the ones that rose up. We were the ones who stood and fought until the killing stopped, because the killing will stop if we will join together right now in this hour. That's where we are, on the brink of victory. Do not lose heart. Do not lose hope. This is our moment. Rise up. Register everyone you know to vote and get out there and get it done. Let's finish this work.
Absolutely.
Let's finish it.
And we also have to pray. We have to really pray. But this is the thing. We can't pray from a place of defeat. We have to start praying from a place of completion. It is done. This is God's heart. We have to say, well, is it God's heart to end abortion? Heck yeah. So let's start declaring it. Abortion will be done. Abortion will be done. Lord, we thank you that abortion is done. We thank you that you overturned Roe versus Wade. I thank you very much that people are waking up and they're starting to see the truth about what has been happening, the atrocities that have been happening. So Lord, I just praise you and thank you that you have gone before us, that you have opened the eyes, that you have broke down the barriers, that you've pulled down the walls, and that abortion was closed and done, that's something that's been written in our history books, is something that's not going further, that it's not going further. And
Amen.
so we just thank you, Papa. We thank you, Papa, for every single life that now can live. We thank you, Father God, for the children who are being adopted. We thank you, Father God, for those who didn't think that they had a chance, that they can actually walk out their destiny. So we thank you, Papa. We thank you that you have put a good president who sits in the highest office in our country, and that he is for us, not against us, and that we are going to see the victory in everything that you have said, that we will see the victory. We will see the victory in everything. And the other thing I want to say to you, Janet, is this book, who's going to play you?
It's funny,
this is
but
going to become a movie. This
it,
is
it
going
will
to
be
become a
moved.
movie.
Just the scene. I'll just tell you one scene. If we
Sure.
have a moment, I'll tell you my
Absolutely.
favorite scene in the
Sure.
movie. And that is when it was 2018, December. I was dropping my husband off at the airport, and I said to him, I just don't want to go down there to lose again. I had pushed for a vote. The sponsor, Ron Hood, said to me, he said, let's just wait till January, and then we'll have a pro-life governor instead of John Kasich, the Democrat pro-abort. And I said, even though he pretended to be a Republican, and having just spoken at the Democrat convention, I think I'm pretty safe in saying that. So anyway, I said, no, we were promised a vote. We need to take it. We need to take every opportunity we have, even if it looks completely impossible. And I'm telling you, it was impossible. I needed 15 votes. We needed to get 50 out of 99 members in order to pass the bill. We had that. We could get that. But to be veto proof, knowing that we'd be vetoed again, we needed to get 60. So I had 5 co-sponsors that had left office, and so now I needed 15 votes, not 10, 15 more votes that we never had before. I'm driving down to Columbus. I'm on the phone, and I told a friend of mine, I said, this is going to take an act of God. And I said it in sort of, that sarcastic way that, it's just not going to happen kind of thing. And they said, well, isn't that what we're counting on? Isn't that what this is all about anyway?
Come on.
I said, yeah. So I went down there, and it's funny because a lot of people, when the vote happens, they want to show up. But when the work needs to be done, you can't find them. But on this day, nobody else could make it. So I was down there by myself. I needed to get 15 votes in one day. And so I implemented one of the tactics that Tom DeLay taught me, and that is turning the members into whips. And so I took a sheet of paper like so, and I had it, folded in half, and I listed the legislators we needed. And I'd go to one and I'd say, hey, can you get me these 2? Aren't you in committee with this guy? Hey, you're friends with them. By the end of the day, I was like, you try these 10? I mean, we needed 15 votes in one day, unheard of. Votes we never had before. So what happened was I got to the end of the day, and the votes the next day, and we are 2 or 3 votes away, which is pretty miraculous in itself. Mm-hmm. So my intern, Josh, comes down, Josh Halavity and Lori Vyers, and all the people started coming the next day. And I get there, and the pro-aborts are there with their pro-abort T-shirts and their pentagrams and their phones all aimed at me. And we're handing out gift bags with heart candies, heart chocolates in them, and saying, have a heart. Thank you. From the bottom of our heart. I don't forget what this one said, but we had all the talking points and arguments in the candy bag we were handing out. And so I met with a African-American Democrat. His name is Bill Patman. I just sent him his book, A Hero. And I told him he's going to play himself in the movie. And he's a guy who I said, we need one more Democrat. If we're going to have a shot at this, we need another Democrat. He's the only Democrat with the courage to stand against his caucus. I said, we need another Democrat. And I said, try this guy. We tried one guy, couldn't get him. I said, try Glenn Holmes. And I highlighted in the bill, here's his concerns. Tell him this is the answer. I said, try to get to him. Text me if you do. So the bill starts up, the session begins, the debate begins, and I get a text from Bill, and it says, done. I'm like, oh my goodness, we've got a shot. We got a shot at being veto proof for the first time ever. And so the Democrats called for a caucus right then. I had someone save my seat in the balcony. I went downstairs because I don't know how many votes I still need. I'm still trying to get some more. So I'm standing on my tiptoes. I'm looking through the State House window, and he says, you're going to strain your legs standing on your tiptoes so long. And I hugged him. I said, thank you. I said, he says, do you know what's going on right now? I said, what's that? He says they are meeting right now to terrorize essentially Glenn Holmes. They're threatening him with his political career. If he
Ooh.
dares cast a pro-life vote, they are threatening him right now. I said, well, is he going to hold firm? He says, I don't know. So he and I the guy's like twice as tall as I am. This African-American Democrat, we held hands outside the chamber that day and we prayed. The chamber begins, the session begins, hours of debate go by. We needed 60 votes. Lisa, the vote is cast. And I had been told not to take any more pictures up on the balcony. But my intern had not been told that. So I said, Josh,
yeah.
I said, when that vote is cast, you take a picture of that board of the votes. I said, because I can't wait for the results. We need them right now. And he says, got it. He's got it ready to go. And so the vote is cast. I need 60 out of the 99 members to be veto proof. The vote is cast and it comes out 58-35. Like, oh man. That time where you feel like, well, I tried everything. It wasn't one of those. It was like, something's not right. I had more votes than that. Something's not right. We go downstairs outside the chamber. We're looking at the roster, who voted which way. 10 minutes go by, and Glenn Holmes, the Democrat, goes forward and votes yes. We are now at 59-35. We are one vote away from being veto proof.
Right.
And so I see Marilyn Slaby's name. I just mailed her her book. Marilyn Slaby's name is in orange. If it's red, you're a no vote. If it's green, you're a yes vote. If it's orange, you've left. You're not there. You don't vote. And I said, where's Marilyn Slaby? Why is her name in orange? And they said, well, maybe she's not here. I said, I saw her. I gave her a gift bag coming in. Maybe they got to her. Maybe she flipped. I said, not this one. She was a co-sponsor. Her husband was a co-sponsor when he held the seat before her. I said, where is she? One of the legislators, Nino Vitale, one of our heroes, says he's a man. He said, I'll self-identify as a female and look for her in the ladies' room if I have to. But we got her number. I called her husband, who I knew from when he held the office. And I said, we have three. I told him, I said, we have 3 votes on the roster right now. We have less than an hour to get her back. She's the swing vote. He said, that's impossible. He said, I'm 2 hours away for a mandatory meeting I can't miss. Here's where it comes down to, Lisa. What is it that you believe? Do you believe that with God all things are possible? Or are you going to take that's impossible and say, okay, well, we tried? No, we either believe it or you don't. And actions are what you believe. And so I said to him, I said, can you pull off the highway? Because I'm on my way to get her right now. It was 2 hours. We had 3 bills. There's no way we can stall that long, but I just told him to do it. And he said, all right, I'm pulling off. I hang up with him. I tell one group, I said, you guys pray. I told another group, you tell them to stall until I get back.
Right.
And so I took off running. This is December in Ohio. It's now a blizzard. It's snowing heavy. I'm running. I run 2 blocks to get to my car, and it's snow is coming down. I get to my car and I don't have my keys.
Oh no.
I'm starting to look through my purse, and I'm out of breath. I've just run as fast as I could through the snow. This guy comes up and he's very calmly says, here, you drop these in the crosswalk. Hands me my keys. He was my husband says either marathon runner
or an angel.
Or an angel. And so I'm like, thank you, sir. You have no idea. Thank you. I get in the car. I'm driving north, and I remember Josh's mom used to be an intern of mine at Ohio Right to Life. Right. I remember she used to give report from Wayne Holmes County Right to Life. I said, hold on. That's where our state rep, Marilyn Slaby, is waiting at a Bob Evans in Holmes County. I said, call your mom. Can you see if she can pick her up? So she picks her up. Raylene Halavity picks up Marilyn Slaby, our rep, our swing vote, drives south while I drive north. My husband calls me. He says, what are you doing? I said, I'm driving like a maniac through a blizzard to go get our swing vote. I'm sorry to say, I wasn't as pro-life as perhaps I should be, but I was driving fast and it was snowing hard. And we got to Mansfield in the middle of the state. I put gas in the car, put her in the car, started driving south. I got a call from Ron Hood, our champion. And he said, here, Jan, this is a lesson in this. When you set out to do the impossible, you may not know how it can be done. But God is looking for people that will step out to do the impossible, even though you don't know how it can be done. Because I didn't know how you're gonna stall 4-hour round trip. How in the world? Sure. He says, we found there's a parliamentary procedure that you can recess instead of adjourn. If you recess the assembly instead of adjourn, then 2 members can come back and hold a session. Ooh. One of them is our champion, and one of them is the lady in my car. And we get to the State House, and I still remember it's like a movie. our champion's holding the gavel like the Speaker of the House, and he pounds on the gavel. He says, House Bill 253 for third consideration, and she's still wearing her coat, and she signs the vote. I fell to my knees. I didn't say in the book because I didn't want to look like a real weakling, but I started sobbing. I didn't cry. I sobbed, because that is how we got veto proof to go against John Kasich in the House of Representatives, because we serve the God of the impossible. That's it. That scene is in the movie. And I intend to play myself. I may not be, people say, you don't have the gifting or acting or talent, or you're not as good looking as an actress. I say, you know what? I'm every bit as good looking as the character I'm playing. That's just the way it is. And so I believe that we can see the God of the impossible honored in this. By the way, in the Senate, we had the votes to veto override, but John Kasich got to one of the guys. His name is Bill Beagle. He will never be known as a pro-lifer again. But 4 months later, we had a much stronger bill, as we talked about how we kept the internal ultrasound language out, and we were able to protect 20,000 instead of 4,000, and it was worth it. So I'm just going to tell you, we serve the God of the impossible, and it's time we start taking him at his word. It's time we start doing what it is that we say, we're in God we trust. Do you trust him or don't you? And he's looking for people that will trust him with their actions, that will come out and finish this, to get our country back, to use our freedoms, to keep our freedoms. It begins with registration. It begins with voting. By the way, your church is allowed to register people to vote, and your church is allowed to pass out voter guides. We've got to stand against the voter fraud and the mail by fraud invitation that's happening. But right now we can pray and cover in the blood of Jesus the ballots so that they're counted properly. They're cast properly, and that we see God giving us the chance, the mercy again, to bring to completion. I don't want the 10 years I just spent in my life getting these heartbeat bills through. I don't want it to be all for naught. No. But if we are able to elect Donald Trump, that finish line is going to be crossed, and that Roe versus Wade is going to come down. It's going to come down. And it's no longer impossible. It is now inevitable if we do our part right now.
And I really believe he couldn't do it his first term. He had to come back for a second in order for it to happen.
Well, we've got to replace some more judges. That's just the way it is.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. But I do believe that it's coming down. I do believe this Goliath is going to fall. I do believe that this is going to be overturned, because even the person who was tricked and coerced into even being a part of the bill, who is a woman who is Roe, right? She actually was tricked and coerced and fooled into doing something, and she actually turned against it. And as soon as she turned against it, it was really ironic. I don't know how many, not too long after, she just suddenly died.
Well, Norma McCorvey, and I wrote about it. We put her in commercials with Sandra Cano, who was the Doe of Doe versus Bolton, and Bernard Nathanson, who was the founder of NARAL, then the National Association to Repeal Abortion Laws. He committed, tens of thousands of abortions. And we had the 3 people most responsible for abortion in America. We had him at a dinner in Fort Lauderdale. I was working with Dr. D. James Kennedy at Coral Ridge Ministries at the time. I was the director of the Center for Reclaiming America. So we had the 3 people who have since repented and have since, had since become pro-life. And Dr. Kennedy was there, and I was wondering what's he going to say to these people. All right. We've got a body count in the millions and tens of millions. And these are the people that were really behind it. Right. And this is what he did. He took his silverware and he described the gospel. This is what he did. He said, he took the knife that's sitting on the napkin. He said, that's every religion in the world. I must. I wrote about this in the book. I have to try. I strive. I work. He says, that's every religion in the world. And then he put his fork over his knife and he made the sign of a cross. He says Christianity is the only religion where God came to earth, where God came to us, and it's what Jesus did, not what we can do.
That's right.
And so whether you've had an abortion, whether you've voted pro-abortion, whether you've allowed abortion by not voting, bought the lie that we're not supposed to be involved in politics, then we can repent. We can be restored. Right. And we can rise up right now and become part of the remnant that God will use to not only end abortion. Ending abortion is just the beginning. We're going to advance the kingdom of God. We've been for too long reacting, responding, defending a shrinking piece of real estate. No, not anymore. We need to advance advance the kingdom of God. We need to join together as the body of Christ, start uniting. All of this division. They talked about at the Democratic convention. Oh, it's Trump that's behind it. No, it's not. Watch. No. I was going to say, watch CNN. Don't even bother. It's all division. It's all Trump's fault. It's all ginning up the race. If Black lives really matter, then you join our effort to stop them from being murdered in the womb. That's really what we're dealing with, is the assault against the African American race like none other is with abortion. Join with us to help to defend life, to defend our race. As Pastor Stephen Broden said, please, will there be someone who will be our champion? And you know what? It may have looked like an unlikely champion, but the champion for Black lives, the champion for human lives is Donald Trump. Yep. And we need to thank God for him, and we need to support in every way possible. And I'll tell you one other thing. When I was at the swearing in, I've been at many swearing ins of presidential candidates. I've never seen like I did this time. There were, and I wrote about this as well, that there were covens of witches casting curses. And a lot of them, they may be working at CNN and MSNBC and the networks, because they're spewing out curses every day. And so when you hear that, when you see that, what we need to do is build a shield, to put a prayer shield around our president, to pray for him, to strike those curses to the ground, speak life, speak blessings, and pray protection over him, his family, his cabinet, over the righteous leaders in Congress. We've got to, over the judges, we've got to do what God told us to do, to pray for those in authority. And whether you like him, whether you don't like him, President Trump has been put in our authority, I believe, by the mercy of God. And we need to pray for him every single day. Amen. I pray for him many times a day, because it's just, the attack is so severe. I don't think there's ever been a president that has been more attacked than this man. And we need to stand with him, and we need to pray for him. And we need to vote and register others to vote right now.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say one other thing. That, the fact that there are covens that go to protest you, that are protesting abortion, why are they doing it? If it's not evil, why are they defending it?
Yeah, think about whose side you want to be on. You want to be on the side of the witches. The Satanists endorse Biden Harris. You got Antifa. You've got the Marxist groups. You've got the lawless ones, the ones that are burning cities to the ground. You got, those are the supporters of the Democrats. Or you've got the NRA. You've got the police, even New York Police Department endorsing President Trump. You've got the pro-life movement. You've got the pro-liberty movement, the pro-gun movement, the Christian movement. You've got whose side are you on? Choose this day who you will serve. I serve God. And I want to pick the one that follows God's principles. And there is none other in this presidential race than President Donald J. Trump. So you've heard me say this. I won't beat it any more in the ground. But if you're not sure where the candidates stand, you can also go in a voter guide across all the races in your state. It's called ivoterguide.com. ivoterguide.com. I write about it in the book. And I want to encourage you to you can get a signed copy if you go to faith2action.org, faith2action.org. But it reads like a novel, but it's going to, I believe, give you the equipment you need to pass a bill like this, but to also advance the kingdom of God in other areas, to know that he is who he claims to be, and it's got some spiritual lessons that we've learned along the way that just aren't really being implemented by the church like they need to be. And I just encourage people to get it. I do believe that that God is going to use it. And I do hope that you get it. It's something that is the handbook of what we've learned in the last decade. And it applies across the board on all the things that matter to God. We are his instruments. He doesn't just, as David Barton says, he just doesn't swoop in and save a nation. He uses people. The good news is he uses ordinary people, even kids like me that were afraid to give a speech. It's not about us. It's not about our gifts or talents. It's not about anything about us. It's all about him and what he can do with those whose hearts are devoted to him, whose hearts are completely trusting in him. As our motto says, it's in God we trust. Well, you know what? Show me if that's what you believe by what you do. Your actions are what you believe.
Come on. You are awesome.
God bless you.
You are seriously awesome.
Glory be to God, because I was the kid who couldn't give a speech.
Well,
and so if he can use me, he can use anybody. That's it. It's it. It's not about us. And Francis Schaeffer said it this way. Faith is not a leap in the dark. It's ceasing to call God a liar. And that's what we're doing when we don't
Ooh,
take him at his word.
come
It's like
on.
it's like slapping God across the face and calling him a liar. In Numbers 14, when the majority report came back about the spies,
That's
Moses
it.
sent them in. The majority report comes back, and they basically said the giants are big and scary,
They
and
were CNN.
let's go back. Yeah, yeah, right. That's right. They had just about watched CNN, the Canaanite News Network, a different network. Anyway, they came back, and God didn't say, "I understand, giants are scary," and
Yeah.
no, God doesn't talk like that. You know
Nope.
what he said? He said, "How long will these people refuse to believe in me?" It's like slapping God in the face when you don't take him at his word.
Come
And
on.
I don't want to do that anymore. I don't
Nope.
want to treat God like he's a liar, because
Nope.
he is not.
No, he's not.
And he is for us, and he is able to do what men say cannot be done.
Come
I've
on.
seen it, and I know we're going to see it again. And if he can
Amen.
give us the victory, he can give you the victory, and he can give us, our nation, a victory again that will make the snowflakes cry on national television again, I'm sure.
We're going to have bigger rooms. I want a mask that actually says, sorry, he's going to win again.
Yeah, well, we just have to make sure of it,
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's just too much on the line.
I know. I know. So, okay, people are interested in okay, it's like I'm here in Jersey.
Mhm.
That's a tough state to get a bill like that passed. But I truly believe that Jersey's going red this year. I'm going to say
All
that
right.
Jersey's going to go red after this election. And I
There is
believe that that is going to happen, that we are going to get the heartbeat bill in Jersey.
Okay, what happened in Jersey, and I wrote about this in the book. I think Jersey was the one that right after they light up the Freedom Tower with
Yeah.
pink to celebrate killing kids through
Yeah.
birth. I think they were the ones that passed a law that said, trying to find it where it is, that said. There it is. New Jersey's Democratic governor proudly signs a bill to make it harder to
Yep.
execute, to euthanize dogs. But here's something else in New Jersey. Well, they don't protect unborn babies. They passed a bill. They introduced a bill to protect unborn cows. Are you ready for this? Pro-abortion Democrat Assemblyman Benji Wimberly said, "Cattle can't defend themselves on issues like this. It's animals' rights. It's the right thing to do. It's the moral thing to do. And you're protecting something that really can't protect itself. And yet these are the ones who want to kill children until birth." Let me tell you about New Jersey. Even if you live in a blue state, what I'm going to tell you is introducing the heartbeat bill is a good thing to do, because what it does is it's like putting out a billboard across your state. Abortion stops a beating heart. Just that publicity saved a life in Ohio, saved lives in Arkansas and elsewhere. Just that information alone. But again, when we pass the bill, instead of abortion stopping a beating heart will stop
Stop
abortion. So
abortion.
do it whether you live in New Jersey, New York, California. We've got to do this because
Yeah, we
it's
do.
the right thing to do. But
Yep.
when you speak the truth, it will reach the hearts, even the hardest hearts, and
Yep.
it will save lives. Even ours saved a life even before it passed out of the House committee. So it's worth doing, and I just encourage you to do it. And we stand here with you. We've got a model bill at f2a.org. You can download the model bill, use it in your state, and we'll be here and read the book. It'll tell you how, but then give us a call, and if we can help you, we'll come testify. We'll help you out with the strategy. It can be done, and the reason I know that is because I've seen it happen.
That's right, because he's an Ephesians 3:20 God.
That's right.
Yeah, he is. Okay, so Jenna, if people want to get in touch with you, what website would they go to?
You can go to action.org, or the shortcut is f2a.org. That's for Faith to Action. And then we're building the site. It should be launched here probably by next week, where you can get not just the Heartbeat Away book, which you can order and get a signed copy, but you can also get the other materials that can help us fight against the criminalization of Christianity. I also wrote a book about being single back in the day when I was single. It's called "What's a Girl to Do While Waiting for Mr. Right." There's all kinds of resources, and
I love
you can
that.
get them there. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And
Now, is
it's
that the
really
right
the
website?
message.
Faith2action.org. Is that what you said?
Faith2action.org. Yep, that's
Yep.
right.
Okay, cool. So we got that up there. So people, I would love to have you come back. Let's talk about how we can get some single girls married. Come on.
Sure, absolutely.
I think
You
that would
know,
be a super fun thing.
God said that he has that book. Remember I told you about Psalm
Mhm.
139, all the days of
Mhm.
your life are written for him came to be. People
That's
said,
right.
when you write that book, make sure you tell him there's no Mr. Right. I said, I don't believe that.
No, I
Because
don't
if God
either.
has all the days of your life, that includes your wedding day. And if he already knows your children before they're formed in the womb, then he
Come
knows who the
on.
father is. And so he's got a plan.
Yeah, he
That's
does.
it. I want God's plan. I don't want my plan B. I want God's plan A. And this book talks about that, and the purpose of your life in whatever season you're in. You can be discontented. You can be, all kinds of things. If you don't have a child yet, or if you're not married yet, or whatever it may be that you don't yet have. I'm just saying God has a plan for every season of your life. You go to God and be used for Him in this time. He said, if you seek Him first, all these other things will be added. And that includes the desires of your heart. As you delight yourself in the Lord, He will give you the desires of your heart. And that may be a spouse, that may be children, that may be whatever it is. We have a good God, and He's a
Yeah, we do.
rewarder of those who diligently seek Him.
Come on. All right. Now I
Amen.
have to ask, are you a pastor yet?
I am not. I am not. No, no.
Yeah, you got a big pastor calling because you have
Oh,
such a heart. You
I had
are
a
awesome.
Jim Garlow. He offered to hire me as a pastor in Skyline Church in San Diego, and I remember telling him I'm not sure I'm a big fan of women pastors. He says, "Oh, we'll call you something else." It's kind of fun. But
Mhm.
no, I know my calling. I know my assignment has been in the trenches these last
Yes.
10 years. We're looking to see what God's going to do next. I have some ideas. And we'll see what God's ideas, whether they match or whether I get that upgrade to what God has, which is, as you said, Ephesians 3:20, exceedingly
Yep.
better than what we can dream up. And that's what I
Absolutely.
want. I want God's every scene of the movie of my life as written by God. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see what He's going to do next. And I know it has to do with us getting our country back,
Yes.
and using the freedom that He's given us for everything it's worth.
Yes. And I'm just going to say one more thing, Janet. You need to think about doing a podcast.
Okay, we'll give that some thought. I
Get
used to
yeah.
do a radio show every day for
Yeah.
about 7 years. I did a daily radio commentary for about 30 years,
Yeah.
and I took time off to work on the federal heartbeat bill.
Yeah.
But we'll put that all up before the Lord and see what He says. I'm open to whatever that is. I'm not anxious to have
More stuff.
another daily anchor
Mhm.
around your ankle. You know what that is?
Mhm.
It's I would rather make history than report about it. And
I
so
love
yeah,
that.
you can do both. I know you can do both, but we'll see what God says. We'll see what God
Yeah,
says.
I just see you as a truth speaker. So, and there's more
Thank you.
people who need to come out and be the truth speakers. You're a truth seeker, but you're also a truth speaker. And
Amen.
there is
Amen.
something
Thank you.
about that. So, but and
Thank you.
I'm just gonna come into agreement that our president is gonna get your book. Not only is he gonna
Thank
get
you.
your book, he's going to invite you to come and speak. I am also going to come into agreement that you will be able to thank him for the work that he's done and how he has helped you, and that together there is going to become, because this is on his heart as well.
Amen.
So that's
Amen. Thank
I'm
you.
just standing in agreement with that. So, but you
Look,
have been awesome.
we serve the God of the impossible. Why
That's
not
it.
ask big?
I
I think
always
so.
ask big. I might, my thing is go big or go home.
That's right. That's right.
That's me. Go big or go home. Okay, so if you guys want to get in touch with Janet, you can go to faith2action.org. You can get a copy of your book, A Heartbeat Away. Especially, this is a great book for people who don't understand about abortion or who have been on the fence about abortion. This would be a really good book for them to get. But I also think that this is a book that that every single church should have, so that they have a better understanding about what they are coming into agreement with. Because what you come into agreement with, it says thou shalt not kill. Hello. We need to stop, skating around issues and start really being more accountable for the things that we preach. We can't preach one thing and do the other. So, but you have just been so awesome. I love everything that you've talked about. I'm so excited about where God is going to take you, because there's just so many things that I see, because I don't know, it's just the way it is. But I'm just seeing so many things that you have so many dreams inside of you, and God has really been blowing those embers. And because you know that this, just like He said, it's coming to the end of the race, and it's going to be I'm going to cry. It's going to be very bittersweet for you, because this has been This has been such a call of love. This has been such a love call to the unborn. And when it finally passes, it's going to be the relief, and it's going to that there's going to be like this breath. It's almost like, giving away your baby. But
No,
God
I
has so
disagree
much
on that. I'll
more.
tell you why. I want to say it's going to be a celebration. I've been planning
Yes.
the victory party for decades now.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was even working in the early days in the Right to Life movement back when they were pro-life. I remember I used to fantasize about the day when the
Come
killing
on.
stopped and I can actually do something else.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the establishment that seems like they want to keep abortion going so they can keep their money income. I can't
No, you
wait
can't
till the
wait.
killing stops so we can do something different. And
Yeah.
it's going to be pure sweet. There'll be no bitter. I'll be thrilled to death and
Oh,
thrilled to life.
not bitter. You'll
And
be happy. You'll be excited. But
yeah,
it's going to be just this. Oh my gosh, that it's over. It's going to be this. So it's going to be fun.
I
And God
can't
has
wait.
so many great things for you. So many great things for you because what you've done and what you've sown into, God is going to reward you greatly.
Well, ending abortion is just the beginning.
Absolutely.
And what we can do is I mean, someone came and told me, they said, you pray too small. And I'm like, really? Because I'm praying to end abortion and I'm praying to reestablish marriage. And I'll take that challenge. You know what? I've been praying that what the enemy has taken, we get sevenfold
Come
back,
on.
sevenfold plus interest, plus a settlement for pain and suffering. And
Come
whatever
on.
else we're allowed to ask for,
Come
we need
on.
to ask for it. We need to take what the enemy has stolen and take it back with spoils. And that's it. I used to say, I'd like to, see us get as effective as Google or as Twitter or Oprah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what? No, that's not enough. That's not enough. What the enemy has done is a starting place of what God is able to do, times 7
right.
plus interest. And, whatever else we can ask for on top of that, I'm asking for 1,000-fold harvest for every seed we planted. We have the ability to see God do what is again, one more time, exceedingly abundantly greater than we know how to ask. Upgrade your prayers. Start asking for the God of the impossible to show up, and He will. And I can't wait. I can't wait till we see President Trump restored again, so that the killing can stop and our freedoms can remain.
Come on.
So God bless you, my friend. I'm very, it was very, very privileged to be with you tonight. I really enjoyed talking with you, and I'd love to come back.
Yes, let's definitely do that. So if you guys are interested in getting in touch with Janet, you could go to faith2action.org. You can get a copy of A Heartbeat Away. Also, sometimes you need some money. So if there is a donate, you might want to go and donate money. So because this is not a small task that she's been doing. So if you want to sow into some good soil, you're sowing into destiny. Because each and every child that's saved has a destiny. So you will be a part of that destiny. So sowing into that is a really good way to put some money where your mouth is. If you can't be out on the street shouting, use your pocketbook to do it. How about that?
Amen.
All right.
Amen.
So
thank
you guys for tuning in. Thanks for hanging in. I know it's a little bit longer, but I knew because I even talked to Jenna. I said, how long can you go? And she goes, well, we'll go as long as the Holy Spirit goes. I said, okay, then.
As the Lord leads.
There you go. As the Lord leads, and He led us right here. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you share this with your friends. If you've enjoyed this, please go ahead and share it. You can also check it out because it will be a podcast, because I just don't know if it's going to stay up on YouTube or Facebook. So we're going to put it someplace else where it can be. So you can also follow it and find it on Cloud Hub, because I'm going to be having a television show. I'm going to have my own channel of All Touched by Prayer. So you'll be able to find it there. All right, guys. Thank you guys for